I shouldn't have stayed that late. She'd already said goodnight twice. The second time with that small smile she used when she didn't really mean it. The one that said stay a little longer if you want to. The house smelled like paint and lemon tea. The windows were cracked open just enough for the night air to sneak in, cool and restless. She sat across from me on the floor, legs folded beneath her. A streak of blue paint on her wrist catching the light every time she moved. Elena. Even her name felt heavier when I said it in my head, like something I wasn't supposed to touch. "You're quiet tonight," she said, dipping the brush back into the jar. "That's not like you." "I just don't want to mess up your work," I said. She looked up, her eyes catching mine. Not sharp, but searching. "You couldn't." I wanted to tell her I wasn't talking about the painting. The silence between us thickened. Somewhere outside, a dog barked, and the sound of it only made the room feel smaller. I tried to focus on the canvas, but all I saw was her. The loosened hair at her neck, the faint crease between her brows, the way her thumb traced the rim of her mug when she wasn't thinking about it. She handed me a brush. "Try it. Here." Our fingers brushed. Just once, lightly, but it was enough to make me forget what I was supposed to do. The contact wasn't planned. It didn't even last long enough to mean anything. Still, my hand stayed hovering near hers a second too long, as if waiting for a reason not to move. Her voice softened. "You're shaking." I laughed under my breath. "It's cold." "It's not." She set her brush down, watching me in that steady way she had. Patient, unhurried, like she could see what I wasn't saying. I looked away first. The lamp beside us hummed quietly. The whole room seemed to be listening. She leaned back against the wall, her sleeve falling open at the wrist. "My aunt used to say," she murmured, half smiling, "one secret won't hurt anyone." "What does that mean?" She didn't answer right away. "Maybe nothing." The pause after that stretched out longer than comfortable. I found myself memorizing everything. The tilt of her head, the light touching her cheek, the way her breath slowed when she was thinking. I wanted to ask what her secret was, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I said, "You ever regret something you didn't do?" She blinked, like the question had caught her off guard. "Every day." It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't confession. Just truth, dropped between us like a stone in still water. Her gaze drifted toward the window, where the curtain shifted with the wind. She looked older then, not tired, just remembering. I wanted to reach out, to trace that small streak of paint on her skin, to ask what she'd lost that made her voice sound like that. But I didn't. She stood up instead, brushing her hands against her jeans. "You should probably get going. It's late, right?" I started gathering my things, but the air between us didn't change. Stayed full of everything we weren't saying. When I turned to leave, she was still by the window. "Good night, Noah," she said. Her tone was even, but her hand lingered on the curtain, holding it closed. I was halfway through the door when I heard it. Her voice again, quieter this time, almost to herself. "Maybe one secret does." Then came a knock, sharp, sudden, from the front door, and her eyes flicked to mine. The next time I saw her, she pretended not to notice me at first. The cafe was busy. Mid-morning rush, machines hissing, people talking too loudly. I was behind the counter, half focused on orders when she walked in, wearing a loose gray sweater and that quiet kind of confidence that made everyone glance twice without knowing why. She ordered tea. Of course. "Lemon, no sugar." I didn't even need to ask. When I set the cup down, she smiled, polite, like I was just another barista. But her fingers brushed mine as she took it, light and deliberate, and for a second I forgot to breathe. "You're working too hard," she said softly, almost teasing. "You're still painting?" I asked. Her smile faded just a little. "Trying to." It had been 2 weeks since that night. The paint, the touch, the knock at her door. She never said who it was. I never asked. Maybe that's what kept me coming back, even when I told myself to stop. Later, when my shift ended, she was still sitting by the window, stirring her tea though it had gone cold. The cafe had emptied out. Only her and me. I wiped the counter one more time, buying myself time. You always wait till closing now? I asked. Maybe I like the quiet, she said. Or maybe I just hate being home alone. The way she said it, not sad, just honest, made my chest tighten. I knew she'd been married once. I didn't know much more, except that she didn't wear the ring anymore, and sometimes stared at her phone like she was waiting for something that never came. I sat across from her, careful not to let my knee touch hers under the table. Were you lonely when you were married? I asked before I could stop myself. She looked at me, eyes steady. Lonely isn't something that starts when you're alone. It starts long before. She said it so simply it hurt. I tried to smile. Guess I wouldn't know yet. No, she said. You would. You just wouldn't call it that. Quiet pause. The kind that makes you aware of every sound. The hum of the fridge, the faint tapping of her ring against the cup, her breathing. Then she leaned forward, close enough that I could smell the faint citrus on her skin. Her voice was lower. You shouldn't look at me that way, Noah. I froze. How? She tilted her head, eyes tracing mine like she was deciding whether to say more. Like you're about to forget something important. She pulled back then, almost guiltily, and reached for her bag. I should go. But when she stood, her hand grazed my shoulder. Quick, unthinking. And for that one instant, neither of us moved. Her fingers lingered there, warm, grounding. Then she withdrew. Good night, she said again. The same word, the same tone, but softer this time, as if it didn't mean goodbye at all. I watched her leave, the bell over the door giving a single, tired ring. And as the door closed behind her, I caught her reflection in the glass. Pausing just once, before stepping out into the rain. It happened on a Sunday. I hadn't planned to see her, not really. I told myself I was just walking by, just passing through her street on the way to nowhere. But then I saw her car in the driveway, half covered in leaves, and before I could stop myself, I was knocking. The door opened a crack. Her hair was damp, tied back carelessly, a thin sweater draped over her shoulders. Noah, she said like a question. It's early. I know. I was just... She stepped aside before I finished. Come in. The house smelled like rain and turpentine. Brushes cluttered the table. Canvases leaned against the wall, unfinished. Faces blurred, colors too intense. Bad timing, I asked. Maybe perfect timing, she said quietly. We both laughed, but it came out uneven. She poured coffee into chipped mugs. The air between us felt heavier than last time. Not uncomfortable, just charged. Every sound, the spoon hitting porcelain, the rain ticking against the window, seemed too loud. I watched her hands, small, graceful, moving without hurry. She caught me looking. What? Nothing. She set her mug down. You've got to stop doing that. Doing what? Looking at me like you're about to say something you shouldn't. Her tone wasn't cold, but it wasn't safe either. I wanted to answer, but a sharp knock cut through the room. We both jumped. She froze, eyes flicking toward the front door. Who? Probably my sister, she whispered, already moving. She drops by sometimes. Without thinking, I reached for her wrist. Do you want me to stay? She said, quick and quiet. Just stay here. She slipped out of the room. Voices followed, muffled, polite, too close. I couldn't make out words, just her tone. That practiced calm she used when she wanted to sound fine. My pulse felt loud. Then I heard it, the sister's voice. You've been busy. Painting again. Elena laughed softly. Trying to. I caught a glimpse through the hallway mirror. Elena half turned toward the door, blocking the view inside. Protecting something. Me. After a few more minutes, the front door shut. Silence again. She leaned against the frame, exhaling. She never knocks twice. Guess that's lucky, I said. Or not, she replied, almost smiling. The tension broke for a heartbeat, and then rebuilt stronger. She crossed the room slowly, brushing her hair back, her eyes fixed on mine. Why do you keep coming here? She asked. I swallowed. I don't know. Yes, you do. I didn't answer. She stood so close I could see the faint shimmer of water still caught in her hair. I could feel the warmth from her skin, the scent of coffee and rain between us. She looked up at me, her voice barely a whisper. "This isn't a good idea." "Then tell me to go." Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she reached up, her hand grazing my jaw, light, uncertain. The kind of touch that asks a question without expecting an answer. For a moment, the world narrowed. To her breath, her eyes, the sound of rain hitting glass. Then she pulled back, sudden, almost trembling. "I can't," she said. "Not yet." Neither of us moved. Outside, thunder rolled, distant but coming closer. And she didn't step away. It was late again. The kind of late that made time feel private, almost stolen. Elena had called this time. Said she needed help moving a few canvases to the gallery downtown. I didn't ask why she couldn't wait until morning. Maybe I already knew. When I arrived, she was in the studio, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, the smell of turpentine and rain still thick in the air. The floor was scattered with half-finished work, faces fading into fog, brushstrokes sharp and uncertain. "You came," she said, without looking up. "You asked," I replied. She laughed under her breath. "That's all it takes?" "Sometimes." She turned then, something tired but alive in her eyes. "You shouldn't make it sound so simple." "It's not," I said. Silence again. Only the sound of her brush scraping against the edge of a jar. I stepped closer, took one of the canvases, and leaned it against the wall. My arm brushed hers as I passed. She didn't move away. We worked in quiet rhythm, her reaching, me lifting, the sound of canvas against wood. Each accidental touch felt deliberate, like neither of us wanted to admit it mattered. When the last painting was set aside, she leaned back against the wall, breathing lightly. "You ever wish something wasn't wrong just so you could stop pretending it was?" I didn't answer. She looked up. "You do, don't you?" I nodded once. She took a step forward. Then another. Her voice dropped. "You think I don't notice the way you look at me? I don't try to hide it. Maybe that's what scares me." I hesitated, then reached up, brushing a stray strand of hair from her cheek. My hand lingered just a second too long. Her breath caught, sharp and shallow. "Elena." "Don't," she said, eyes closing briefly. "If you say my name like that, I—" Her sentence broke off, replaced by silence that felt like gravity. She exhaled slowly, eyes opening again. "You're too young for this." "For me." I shook my head. "Then stop me." She didn't. I felt her hand rise. Not to push me away, but to rest against my chest. Barely touching, just enough for me to feel her trembling. "You don't understand what this would cost," she whispered. "Then tell me." She stared at me, the kind of look that feels like a decision forming. Her thumb traced a small circle on my shirt, almost unconsciously. "I already lost one life pretending to be someone I wasn't," she said. "I can't do that again." "Then don't." Her lips parted, her eyes flicked to my mouth. For a heartbeat, she leaned in, slow, hesitant, as if fighting herself with every inch. The air between us thinned. I could feel her breath, warm against my skin, her fingers curling slightly into my shirt. And just as she whispered, "No one has to know," a phone buzzed on the table. She froze. The sound was sharp, electric, cutting the moment clean in half. Her eyes fell to the screen. A name I couldn't see, and she stepped back, pulse visible in her throat. "I have to answer this," she said. Her voice was steady. Her hands weren't. And I knew, as she turned away, that something had already shifted. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up at the cafe. Hair pulled back, sunglasses on though it was raining outside. She didn't order anything, just walked straight to the counter. "We need to talk," she said. There was something in her tone. Not anger, not exactly fear, but something tighter. I nodded, untied my apron, and followed her out into the drizzle. We stood under the awning. The rain hit the pavement hard, a constant hiss filling the silence. I thought you said. She cut me off. My sister saw your jacket. At my place. I froze. She asked who it belonged to. Elena went on, voice barely above the rain. I told her it was a friend's. She didn't believe me. I opened my mouth, but no words came. She looked at me then. Not accusing, not apologizing. Just caught. This isn't just about us anymore, she said. It never was. I took a slow breath. Do you regret it? Her answer came too fast. No, then softer. But I'm scared. The rain was cold against my skin, but I barely felt it. You think I'm not? You're 26, she said, a tired kind of frustration creeping in. You still get to start over. I don't. She turned away, her hand trembling as she brushed wet hair from her face. I reached out, fingers hovering near her shoulder but not touching. Elena? She let out a short laugh, bitter around the edges. My aunt used to say secrets don't hurt anyone. She lied. Something in her voice cracked then. I stepped closer. What happened? She looked over her shoulder, eyes wet but not from the rain. When I was married, I had someone, a friend. Just a friend, or at least that's what I told myself. My husband found out. I said nothing. The air felt heavy between us, thick with everything we weren't ready to admit. She shook her head slowly. He never forgave me, even though nothing happened. I promised myself I'd never let it happen again. I finished for her. She turned to face me. And yet here you are. The rain dripped from the awning between us. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag, knuckles pale. I can't keep pretending this means nothing, I said. It's not nothing, she whispered. Then what is it? Her lips trembled. She stepped closer, close enough that the damp fabric of her sleeve brushed my arm. Her breath came quick, uneven. It's the same mistake, she said. Only this time, I know exactly what I'm doing. We stood there, inches apart, the world outside fading into the sound of rain and the rush of blood in my ears. She reached up, almost touching my face, then pulled her hand back like it burned. I can't do this, she said. But I don't know how not to. Her voice broke on the last word. Then, before I could answer, she turned, walking away into the rain without looking back. I took one step after her, then stopped. Because in that moment, I realized something had changed. She wasn't running from me. She was running from what she knew she'd do next if she stayed. She didn't answer my calls for 2 weeks. Then, one night, a message came. Just an address. No words. It was her studio. When I arrived, the door was open, the light inside dim. I hesitated, then stepped in. She was there, standing by the window, wearing one of those old paint-smeared shirts, her hair unbrushed, eyes tired but steady. You came, she said, voice low. You asked? I replied, the same words we'd said once before. Only now they felt different. She smiled faintly. You shouldn't have. I shut the door behind me. You knew I would. Her eyes flicked to me, then away. You make everything sound so simple. It isn't. That's why I'm here. Silence filled the room, heavy and fragile. She turned back to the canvas. It was unfinished. A portrait of someone she hadn't meant to paint. Me. I took a slow step forward. You painted this? She exhaled. I tried not to. It just kept turning into you. I stopped beside her, close enough to see the tremor in her hand as she reached for the brush. I can't seem to stop, she whispered. The air between us was thick with everything we'd been avoiding. I reached out, gently taking the brush from her hand. Our fingers met, hesitant, then still. She didn't pull away this time. I keep thinking about that night, I said. How close we were. Her gaze lifted to mine. I remember every second. The words sat between us like a secret spoken too loudly. Slowly, she reached up, her hand tracing the side of my face, her thumb catching at my jawline. You don't make this easy, she said. I'm not trying to. Her hand lingered. I could feel her pulse through her fingertips. Her breathing slowed. The distance between us disappeared until I could feel the warmth of her body against mine. the faint scent of paint and rain still clinging to her skin. Her voice broke softly. If I do this, I don't come back from it. I met her eyes. Then don't look for a way back. She closed her eyes, just for a moment, the kind of moment that decides everything. Then she leaned in. Not enough to kiss, just enough that her lips brushed the air between us. A whisper of warmth that felt more real than touch. Her hand slipped down, resting against my chest. You make me feel like I'm still alive, she said. You are, I whispered. You always were. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. And then she stepped back, slow, shaking her head. If I stay here, I'll forget who I am. Maybe that's what you need. Her eyes glistened, not with fear, but with clarity. No, she said. I just needed to know you saw me. I did. Completely. She smiled then, soft and broken, and turned back toward the half-finished canvas. Go, she said, before I change my mind. I wanted to argue, to stay, but I didn't. As I reached the door, I heard her say, almost to herself, one secret always hurts someone. And in that moment I understood. She wasn't afraid of being found out. She was afraid of losing herself in the one person who finally saw her. Took months before I saw her again. Not at the cafe, not in town, nowhere. She disappeared the way some people do when they've said all they can bear to say. But one late afternoon in early spring, I walked past the gallery where she used to work. And there she was, standing in front of one of her own paintings, the one she said she couldn't finish. The one that used to look like me. Now it was complete. The background was washed in soft light, the edges clean, the lines calmer. She didn't look surprised when she saw me, just quietly resigned, like she'd been expecting it all along. You changed it, I said, nodding toward the painting. She smiled faintly. No, I just stopped trying to make it perfect. That sounded like her. We walked outside together. The sun was low, warm but fading, stretching gold across the pavement. For the first time, it wasn't awkward. There wasn't anything left to hide behind. I thought you moved away, I said. I almost did, she admitted. Then I realized I was running from a story I hadn't finished writing. We walked without speaking for a while. The air smelled faintly of paint and lilacs. I could feel the nearness of her, the rhythm of our steps falling into quiet sync. You still think this is wrong? I asked. She looked up at me. Not defensively, not shy, just open. I think it's complicated. But maybe complicated isn't the same as wrong. I nodded. You taught me that. Her eyes softened. And you reminded me what it feels like to be seen. We stopped near the park, where the trees were just starting to bloom. The light caught her hair, the wind moving it gently across her face. Without thinking, I reached up and brushed it back. She didn't flinch this time. Her hand found mine, slow, deliberate, as if asking permission even though she already had it. Her fingers were cool, small in mine, but she didn't let go. I spent so long being afraid of what people would think, she said quietly. But you never asked me to be anyone else. I couldn't, I said. You were already enough. She leaned her head against my shoulder, just for a moment. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic, just stillness, shared. The kind of peace that comes after surviving yourself. When she finally looked up, her eyes were calm. Maybe one secret did hurt, she said. But maybe it also healed something I didn't know was still broken. I smiled. Then it was worth it. She gave a small laugh, the kind that starts in the chest and feels like relief. Maybe it was. We stayed like that, her hand in mine, the evening light fading slow, the silence finally feeling easy. Not hiding, not pretending, just there. Whatever came next, it would be ours, messy, real, unpromised, but true. And for the first time, neither of us looked away. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? ****